Today we're talking about the 8 Millennium Development Goals. Goals such as reducing abject poverty, reducing infant mortality rates, reversing the AIDS epidemic. And my guest is someone who's right in the center, right on center stage in leading the effort to overcome these problems. Mr. Salil Shetty is the director of the United Nations Millennium Campaign, a program specifically geared to achieving the Millennium Development Goals. Prior to joining the United Nations, Mr. Shetty was Chief Executive of Action Aid, a leading international development organization in South Asia and Sub-Saharan Africa. Mr. Salil Shetty, welcome to today's Global Connections program. Let's start off with a very basic question about the Millennium Development Goals.
Well, in terms of what these goals are, I always say that, when you go to a village or a slum in Africa or Asia, and if you ask people what are your most pressing priorities or needs, you will get pretty much these 8 goals as the list from poor people. So it's starting with addressing the issue of poverty and hunger, going on to the issue of education, basic education, and of course health, primary health care, dealing with the killer diseases of HIV, AIDS, tuberculosis, malaria, and the increasing challenge of our environment and climate change. So essentially it's a combination of these 8 things which together are the goals. Now you asked us to how did they come about, and I think in September 2000 when the Millennium Summit happened here in this very building at the UN, world leaders were faced with a very paradoxical situation, I think, because on the one hand the world had never seen so much prosperity before, because we had seen a long period of economic growth and wealth. At the same time we had massive poverty and inequality. So I think they were very clear that they have to free, and I quote, their fellow citizens from suffering and abject poverty, and to deal with this extreme sort of contradiction between phenomenal wealth on one side, not just between rich and poor countries, but even in poor countries themselves. You had some people who had amazing amounts of wealth, and on the other hand you had extreme poverty, and such a situation leads to a world which is neither just nor stable. So we had to connect the issue of development, the issue of peace, and the issue of human rights, and that's how the Millennium Goals were articulated as a set of 8 goals to be achieved by 2015. But I should just hasten to add that the 8 goals, they have been put together in a very deliberate way, because they are all interlinked, because you cannot address poverty without addressing health, you cannot address health without education, you cannot address any of these without dealing with environment. You can't address the issue of reducing maternal deaths without dealing with the status of women, because and the 8 goals have been put together with that logic. And what makes it unique also, like you mentioned, first of all, it's time bound. The goals are defined in quite a precise way. They're not vague sort of waffly goals, because at the UN there's also lots of meetings which happen which lead to generic declarations of political commitment. But what makes the goals unique is they're very precise, very time bound, very measurable, which leads to greater accountability, because if these things are not achieved, then we know whom to hold to account.
And now you've been involved in a Stand Up and Take Action program, and we're going to watch a short clip of that, which will help share this information with people and show how they can get involved.
I think it'll be great.
Stand up, everybody around the world. I mean, man, woman, boy, and girl. Come on, stand up, everybody around the world. I'm talking man, woman, boy, and girl. Stand up.
People across the world join hands on the Stand Up, Speak Out campaign, which is part of the UN's effort to promote the Millennium Development Goals.
Stand Up Against Poverty is the rallying call throughout the world today.
University students went to great heights and weights to make their point about poverty today. The students got a nearly 600-pound pumpkin, and then came the big drop.
Steht auf, stand up.
The beauty of Stand Up is it's one point in time when people across the world collectively come together and raise their voice, and that's very, very important. It is ultimately the responsibility of governments to deliver on the Millennium Development Goals, but it is the responsibility of citizens to make sure that the governments do deliver and are accountable. So Stand Up is one point in time, but it has to be followed up with concrete action.
Bringing together the United Nations and Endemol India for a unique and entertaining reality show, Mission Ustad.
Stand Up and Speak Out is an opportunity for the voiceless
to raise their voice.
People all over the world are going to stand up and be counted for these promises.
I hope you will too. Stand up, everybody around the world. I mean, man, woman, boy, and girl. Come on, stand up, everybody around the world. I'm talking man, woman, boy, and girl. Stand up.
Stand up and take action. That's exactly what that is about.
You watch and wait while everything crumbles like sand falling through your hand. But I see the light in your eyes burning brightly, even though darkness creeps inside.